bring him in from Pro Football Talk, my buddy Myles Simmons. I love Myles. Look at him. Look at him with facial hair. I still think of him as a kid, which is unfair because he was my intern when he was in college. and most of the interns at the radio station were useless. And every other intern except were pretty much useless. And Myles was like the complete opposite. He was like the most useful guy. I love this. I love him. I keep wanting to call him a kid. I can't. He's not a kid anymore. How old are you now? 30?
I'm 30, yeah. So,
My
I mean, you
God.
can call me a kid if you want. That makes me feel a little bit better, probably, if you do call me a kid. But Bull only thinks this because he had just torn his Achilles. So I was like his bedside nurse. I would go and I'd fluff his pillow.
What a treat.
Like, I'm not lying. Like, this sounds like I'm
100%
lying.
true.
We all believe you. None of us think you're lying.
I have to adjust the little chair. You know,
Wait,
sometimes
this
I have to
happened, he
pull the
adjusted your
car
pillow?
around.
Yeah, that's
Not at
crazy.
home.
Yeah.
At work.
You gotta feed him grapes.
No, Myles. Let me tell you something.
Fan him.
Even if Myles had not taken care of me when I was injured, I would have still loved him. He's an awesome young man. He's awesome. He's very smart, and he's having lots of success. I'm so happy for him.
Tell us what he's doing.
But now he's with Pro Football Talk. He worked for the Rams, and he's been all over the place. He goes on the show with Florio and kicks Florio's ass on TV sometimes.
Oh, good for you.
You got to put him in his place, right?
That's great.
Yes, it's true. I mean, sometimes Florio says things that are just simply outlandish. So I like to call him out on those things. You know, I got to make sure that he doesn't just say things that are ridiculous.
Yes.
Like how Sam
was my
Darnold
role
is somehow
once.
better than Jacoby Brissett. He's been telling me that, and it's just not true. Oh, look at the nice little graphic. Okay.
Myles, I know that you're a Browns fan, right? Let's get that out of the way. I see the helmet in the background,
Yeah, well, can you see the helmet?
yeah, I see the helmet.
Helmet's behind me, man.
And Bull
I
told
can't
us
let it
too
go.
that you're a Browns fan. So I want to ask you the question that we spent the first 30 minutes of the show screaming and yelling about.
Yes.
You have two choices. Okay. You can go the first 11 games with Jacoby Brissett and the last 6 with Deshaun Watson. That's the way they're going to go to war, barring any injuries or bad play. Or you can take Baker Mayfield for the entire season. Which one you taking?
No, I'm taking the first option. I mean, given everything that we saw, I mean, like, are we saying this in a vacuum, or are we saying this like knowing everything
in a
that we know?
vacuum.
No,
this is in a vacuum.
No,
For this year.
we're saying that taking into account what Baker did in 2020, what he did in 2021, what Jacoby Brissett has done throughout his journeyman career,
Right.
And also,
But Watson would be quarterback
yeah,
either way next year.
Watson is going to be the 2023 quarterback in both scenarios. So I didn't say that.
Okay, no, I mean, I don't think you can let go of everything that happened with Baker Mayfield and the Browns last year, and it just seemed like there was so much bad blood between those two parties that it just was never going to work anymore. I mean, whether or not we believe, you know, the reporting from Chris Mortensen, the Browns wanted an adult at quarterback, or, you know, the fact that Baker Mayfield, when the Browns reportedly got on the plane, he then put out the, you know, that thing where he's saying basically, I'm done here, goodbye, Cleveland. I can't let any of that go when I think about what it is that Baker Mayfield would bring to the table versus Jacoby Brissett and Deshaun Watson. I think the entire organization probably needs to move forward right now. They did before Baker Mayfield was even gone, right? I mean, that's why Mayfield wasn't at any of the offseason program, wasn't at mini camp, all those different things. So I think it's better to just move on, and you have Jacoby Brissett, and, you know, with the run game, with the defense, he might be able to keep you treading water until Deshaun Watson can come.
That's the hope. What happens week 1 in Carolina?
I got asked this on the radio yesterday. I was doing another hit, and I said, yeah, Baker Mayfield will throw 3 touchdowns, but he'll also throw 4 picks. So, Bull, I think we're kind of on the same page there.
Yeah.
But who wins?
The Browns will win. I think that Carolina is a little bit of a mess, right? I mean, I'm not necessarily all that enthralled, let's call it, with Matt Rule and the program he's been running. And I think when you have to bring in somebody like Ben McAdoo to run your offense, like that does not really inspire confidence. It inspires much confidence in me.
That's a good point.
It shouldn't inspire confidence in anybody.
Yeah.
Myles, we talk about Kevin Stefanski all the time. We were arguing earlier and guessing whether Kevin Stefanski put Baker Mayfield in the best position to make plays. What is your confidence level in Kevin Stefanski this year? And does he have to have his best season coaching to get the Browns to the playoffs?
Well, I certainly think he has had a really good season coaching, but I think one of the advantages he has now that he hasn't really had in the last couple of years is a full off-season program. And when you're talking about, having Jacoby Brissett for the first 11 games of the season, that at least helps you in that regard because he's been in and he's going to know the system, and he's going to understand the system. And Stefanski's going to understand how to call plays for him in a way that he didn't really understand how to call plays for Baker Mayfield at the beginning of the 2020 season. And so despite that, right, they still went to the playoffs. They beat Pittsburgh without him there on the sideline, which is, I think, one of the biggest testaments to him as a head coach, because if you can implement a program that can be okay without you for one game, then you're probably doing a lot of things right. Yeah. So I think, he absolutely has to have a good season of coaching, and he has to call great plays, and he has to do this, and he has to do that, and he's got to make sure guys are in the right position to succeed. But I think he can do that in part because he's had this full off season, and so he has a better idea of the personnel, not just at quarterback, but around quarterback for the entire season.
Myles, we've been also debating over the last couple of days this possibility of trading Kareem Hunt for a wide receiver. I'm very much against it unless I could get a top 20, 25 receiver, which I don't think is possible because teams value the wide receiver more than the running back. And then I look at the teams that might really want to trade for a running back, like Houston. They got I don't have anybody, but they're not trading Brandon Cooks for Kareem Hunt. Doesn't make sense for where they're at as a franchise, right? Like, if they're going to trade Brandon Cooks, who they just extended, they're trading them for draft picks. They're not trading him for Kareem Hunt. And I go through all the teams that, might need a running back, and I can't see, people have brought up Philadelphia. Well, they're not trading A.J. Brown. They're not trading Devontae Smith. So who else do they have? So I can't see a scenario that a team needs a running back and is going to trade for Kareem Hunt and give up a clearly starting caliber wide receiver. Do you see any scenario where that could happen?
Well, no, but I would also counter that with this, and that's that the Browns' offense is probably better with somebody like Kareem Hunt, who they can get on the field and be a matchup problem. If he's out there with Nick Chubb, then teams might be with him just as a running back, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes total sense.
The Browns receiving core, the Browns riceving core is not, the strongest that there is. I think sometimes it's kind of easy to forget that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, you guys will never have me on again, I guess. But I think it's easy to forget that Amari Cooper is there.
And talk smack on Donovan Peoples-Jones like that? How dare you?
God here in Cleveland.
I know.
He's our
my
guest.
biggest apologies to DPJ.
No. You're totally right. You're totally right. It's real suspect.
Right.
And it's
but
a great
they have
point.
to use him that way. But they have to use him that way, and they should.
Right. And the other thing, though, Amari Cooper is really, really talented, which is what I was going to say before you guys got so mad at me
there
for,
you go. All right.
talking
I like him
badly.
again.
All right. And it's easy to forget that Amari Cooper is because he got traded the weekend before they got Deshaun Watson. So, all of those things, I think, kind of add up to being like, oh, yeah, Amari Cooper's still there. But I think if you have Kareem Hunt and you have Nick Chubb on the field at the same time, it presents these matchup issues because linebackers can't cover Kareem Hunt very well. Safeties are not going to be able to cover Kareem Hunt that well because of what he can do without the football. So I think it's better in Stefanski's scheme, especially to have a guy like Kareem Hunt on the team than it would be to have, I don't know, a B minus level receiver.
100%.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. I've got a question for you, and that is, what week do you think Jimmy Garoppolo starts for the Browns this year? Do you think it'll be week 1? Do you think it'll be week 2? When do you think he actually goes in? He's obviously going to end up here. So when he ends up here, when do you think he actually starts playing?
What about that is obvious?
I just have a hunch.
What about that is obvious?
I have sources.
Okay.
Mike,
what are your sources telling you?
Mike is hoping for the best quarterback, best-looking coach-quarterback combo in NFL.
Yes,
Oh my
it
God!
would be,
It'll be
no
Hunkville.
doubt.
It would come in just above Belichick.
Total Hunkville. So do you think Garoppolo is a realistic possibility for the Browns, and how do you think that would work out?
See, that's a better question. I think that it is a realistic possibility, but I also don't necessarily think it's going to happen all that. Because, frankly, if it were to happen, then it probably should happen, yesterday.
Exactly.
It's 2 days ago, a day or two after
Aren't they waiting for him to get
11-game
cut?
suspension got announced. They could. But, I mean, all the teams are waiting for him to get cut. But even if that happens, or if and when that happens, it's like, well, where's he going to go? You know, I tend to think that he could go someplace like New York because he's familiar with the scheme. And we've got now all kinds of places that have Shanahan disciples at their head coach or play caller. So, I mean, we could say Miami if Tua somehow gets hurt or, you know, he doesn't look very good, which I don't know how you guys feel about Tua, but like,
I don't like him.
You know, so New York is another possibility where I think Garoppolo might be better than Flacco, but Flacco's been there, so you don't know.
Definitely.
The Cleveland Browns scheme with Stefanski is sort of similar to that Shanahan stuff too, so it certainly could happen. He could go to Seattle, where Drew Lock and Geno Smith is like one of the saddest quarterback competitions I've ever heard of.
Oh my gosh, it
so
really is.
you know, once he gets released, when they got to go down to 53, because he is going to be. I mean, Jed York, the Niners owner, has said like, "Oh, we feel comfortable keeping him all year." Like nobody wants that.
No.
Jimmy doesn't want that. I don't think Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch want that.
And nobody's
that's not
making
gonna happen.
No one's offering a big trade, so they're going to have to do
That's
that.
not happening. Well, everybody's waiting for him to get waived.
By the way, Miles, Dustin's going to be disappointed in you in dismissing Geno Smith. He loves Geno Smith.
I remember.
Does he really?
He's still a believer in Geno. He's excited that he's going to get him.
He had moments last year.
Yeah. But let me ask you this.
Geno Smith hasn't started games consistently since I was in college. So what does that tell you?
He loves
Last
himself.
year he did.
He's excited about it. I spoke to him over the weekend. So, but let me get, you worked for the Rams. You were a reporter for the Rams for a couple, was it 2 years you did that? I can't remember exactly how long.
5 years.
5 years? My God, my timeline is screwed up.
They grow up so fast.
Your time,
Yeah, it's amazing.
it's because you still think of me as a kid, Bull.
I know.
Hey, Bull, he's paying grown man taxes now.
He is.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, I am.
Yes, he
I
is.
live in California, so yes, I do.
Obviously, you know Sean McVay, and like, first of all, tell us about him from your experience. That's one. But also, like, the Browns kind of went the Rams route here, right? Like, they went all in to win with Stafford. The Browns are kind of doing the same with Watson. So give me your thoughts on those two things.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I really like Sean McVay. I had a really good working relationship with Sean McVay, and he's one of those guys that, you know, I'll say this. The first day he came into the building as officially the head coach, and he does the press conference, and then, of course, being team media, you know, you get a little interview with him. Our reporter was now standing in the I'm going to introduce after. He sees me in the back. He goes, "Hey, my guy, you're doing all those videos online. Hey, you do a good job, man." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." So like that set the stage for, you know, the rest of our working relationship, which was very good. And like he seems to be that kind of person. I think he comes off as that kind of person. And, you know, in my experience with him, that's exactly the kind of person that he is. So, you know, I still have a lot of really good friends that work for the Rams, and I was very, very happy for them that they won the Super Bowl. And I think Sean McVay is a really, really good head coach. So, like that, I'll always be biased toward him. So that is what it is. But I think the way the Browns have approached it is the way that you should approach things if you're going to be in the National Football League, right? Like, there's no such thing as a 5-year plan anymore, in part because rookie contracts only go 4 years unless you're in the first round, in which case there's that 5th-year option. But even then, you know, like, sort of how we talk about Tua Tagovailoa all the time, at least on our show, where he's going into his 3rd year, and you have to make a decision on that 5th-year option after that. So this 3rd year is always very critical. So if you're not doing things right within the first 3 years of a head coach program, let's call it, then you're really not going to go anywhere, right? Eventually that guy is going to get fired probably after the 4th year. Yeah. So the way that the Browns have approached it, where they said, look, we know we're not good enough with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Let's go out and let's get ourselves better, and let's get one of the elite young passers in the game, you know, despite the fact that we know he's going to be suspended, or at least we think he's going to be suspended for some period of time. Like, that's worth it because he can help you win for the next 10 to 15 years. So when you have that quarterback, and especially when you're in the AFC, you need it, right? I mean, you're going to be competing with the Josh Allens of the world, the Mahomes of the world, the Joe Burrows of the division, Lamar Jackson also in the division. You have to have somebody who is at least, you know, a top whatever, let's call it 10 QB, in order to really try to get out of that division and ascend past the divisional round of the playoffs. With Baker Mayfield, the Browns probably weren't going to do that. with Deshaun Watson, they have a chance to do it now for years and years and years to come. So I totally understand the approach, and I think it's the right one if you really want to be competitive in today's NFL.
Myles, let's get down to the real conversation. You know, we've been talking about this football stuff. Let's get down to the tea. Mike Florio right now is one of the biggest lightning rods in the game. Like, this dude has moved himself up the lightning rod pole, but I sit next to a guy who arguably worked with the biggest lightning rod in Skip Bayless.
Two of the biggest.
Stephen A. too.
I'm going to go with Skip. I'm going to go with Skip. If it's a debate on football, debate on football in general, who you taking? Mike Florio or Skip Bayless?
Oh, he has to say Mike.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to say Mike. Exactly. I was hoping you would say Stephen A. But yeah, I know. But I would take Florio because, well, I mean, I work with him, obviously.
Oh, you know,
smart. And he's
he's like,
smart.
come on now. You gonna set me up, brother? You gonna set
Because
me
I'm
up?
smart.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to mess up my bag here, but also I think like
Smart.
I like the way Florio presents his points, and you know, Florio is a really good writer, and part of that is he used to be a lawyer and he practiced law for years and years, and this is one of the things I make fun of him for on our show, which is when he starts saying like, when I practice law, and I'll be like, oh my God, you used to be a lawyer? I had no idea. But the way he can go through things and take things point by point, especially, you know, when it comes to a lot of the legalese that we had to talk through on Deshaun Watson, I think he's the best in the game at that. And so I think because of that, that's why I would take Mike Florio, and also because he's my boss.
All right, well, you put your flag down. What do you say, Jay? Where your
Okay,
flag
so
at?
first of all, I love the way he came at that.
Okay.
Number one, he's smart. Now, I work
It's like
with Skip Bayless.
it's like asking somebody who's a better kisser, your wife or your ex-wife.
Yeah, do you want to come
honest.
home? Do you want to sleep on the couch or what?
Right, exactly.
What you
What's
got?
the other one? When did you stop beating your wife?
Right.
Yes, yeah,
you
it's a
know,
loaded
honestly,
question, yeah.
so on this issue, on the Deshaun Watson issue, I know that Bull has issue with Florio. I was putting more stock in Mike than anybody in the business on this issue. However,
Yeah. Come on now.
I definitely have an affinity for both Skip and Stephen A.
Okay.
And I'll say, Myles said something that was why I like Skip so much is because it's the point-by-point stuff. And you see that in his podcast, and I don't know if you watched the one on Charles Barkley yet.
Yeah, I sure have.
But it's fascinating how he goes through point by point and tells his story, makes his case. Skip's very, very good at that. And I know you said Mike was a great writer. Skip was a fantastic writer. Skip got the Grantland Scholarship to Vanderbilt out of high school. It usually goes to, I mean, you know, Myles, it's one of the
Acting
most
like I knew what that was. I'm like,
prestigious-
wow.
Well,
I have no idea what that is.
It's
Like, damn, I didn't win that.
It's a free scholarship.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's good.
And Grantland is, I don't know if do you guys remember Bill Simmons' site,
Yes.
Grantland?
Oh, yeah.
That was named after Grantland.
Oh, I never knew that.
Who was a great writer, and so was his scholarship at Vanderbilt. And
Interesting.
when you get that, you're in for a lifelong pressure cooker of a career because everybody that gets it is looked at as, okay, so what are you going to do? And of the amazing writers that have gotten that award.
It's kind of like everybody that's hosted a show at WIBX in Utica, New York, including myself.
Sure, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's a litany.
Are you going
Hallowed
to
halls.
do what Bill did?
The Philadelphia Flyers play-by-play man.
Yep.
The Golden State Warriors play-by-play man.
It's a Mount Rushmore.
What's his name? Hacksaw, who works sports talk in San Diego. Can't think
You
of
know,
his
it's
name.
funny that you brought that up because Bowling Green, my alma mater, gives
Yeah.
a scholarship to the hockey play-by-play voice.
Okay. There's
And
been
they've
some
got
good
like
ones.
3 or 4 guys in the NHL now.
there you go.
And so it's the same thing. When you get that scholarship, it's
Well,
prestigious.
it's not the same thing as this.
So-
That's what you're
so-
talking about.
No, but I mean, there's only 30 of those jobs.
That's true.
Myles, so we got to set it up then.
Yeah.
We got it. Is there
Florio,
Skip
Yeah.
Bayless?
I would love that. I would watch that.
I'm not brokering that.
Come on, Myles. You and I, we have connections.
Why
We
are
get
you-
together. Pay-per-view.
Why are you trying? No. Why are you trying to push me off from what I now get the post for Skip, which is I'm gonna do better. No, bring up my bag either.
Hey, secure the bag. Hey, listen.
Yeah,
hey,
get
we'll
what
do
you
that.
got.
Get what you. If we forget all that, you know what I'm saying.
Get what you can. I think they're both really good.
Yeah,
they're good in their own ways.
They are.
but they're both heavyweights in the field. There's no doubt about that.
Nah, bleep them both.
Myles, what do you got the Browns going this year? What's their record?
Oh man, I haven't sat down and done it yet.
All right, perfect. You can do it right now.
Finish around. Yeah, I know. I'll say off the top of my head, I would say probably around they look like a 7 to 10 win team to me, depending on what happens with Jacoby Brissett. So that's like not really a good answer, but anywhere from 7-10 to 10-7.
Come on, I want a firm answer. We're not letting you off the hook here. Give us a firm answer.
9-8. Fine,
9-8. That's what we all did.
Myles, that's the safe play. That's what we all went with 9-8.
Yeah.
It is.
That's where we are.
Yeah. We need a little better to get in, but go ahead, Mikey.
When you're talking about a team going to have starting quarter 11 games, the fact that they could still win 8 in that range says a lot of the foundation they have and defense that they'll have right now. Because, I think I know people who are still mad at Baker Mayfield for his performance on Christmas when the defense down Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. So
4 picks.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
McNuggets has a question for you, Myles, and then we'll let you go. What is it, Mikey?
All
hey,
right,
Myles, we know Mike Florio gets roasted for his fantasy teams a lot. Does he actually play fantasy football, or is those jokes just all arbitrary at his expense?
To my knowledge, he does actually play fantasy football, and he has at least been in for a long time. So, yes. Even though I really don't care about his fantasy team. And
no one does.
I don't care about anybody's fantasy. Frankly, barely play it myself. I play it through somebody else. But, yeah, that he actually does.
I know, to try to put off on an audience your fantasy football team might be one of the most narcissistic things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I'll be doing that every Friday.
And let me just tell you, people give zeros about that. They just don't.
They care about advice on fantasy football.
Yes, they do.
Maybe, but here's why the advice thing is overblown. The advice is for your roster and who you're playing week to week. There's nobody else in that same scenario in the country.
But people can say, would you rather have this receiver or that receiver? That's advice you can give.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But I just think in general,
negative Nancy about it.
Nothing puts me to sleep more than
Myles,
guys talking
love
about
you,
their
buddy.
fantasy team.
Thank you, Myles.
Great job, Myles.
Keep securing that bag.
All right.
And if